team, the highest volume three-point shooting team in the league. Rice in the road blues, FIU in the home whites, and we're underway from Frisco in the Conference USA tournament. Great to have you here. John Little alongside Kyle Yeomans as Trajan Jacob initiates the offense. And now trying to get it inside. Banks has it stolen away by Chris Mullins, the 6'3 sophomore from here in the DFW area from Grand Prairie. Brings it up and puts it in the hands of Josh Paris. Here's the Rice starting five. This is what Scott Para has relied on the back half of this season. These starters have been outstanding for Scott Para's team. They've won 6 of their last 9.
Yeah, one of the hottest teams coming into the tournament, getting hot at the right time and having an opportunity to try and find some rhythm early in this game. You have a steal from a team that's 13th in the conference in forcing turnovers via the steal. So you even have that conversation already. Rice showing off that, hey, we're a different team than we were when it was the start of conference play.
Shot clock violation gives it back to FIU, a team that gives up 72 points a game. Starting five for FIU. They've gone with this pretty much the whole season. You see Osaghae in the middle. Andrews, their leading scorer, with Day, Jacob, and Banks. And an early three by Trajan Jacob goes down.
You look at the corner three for FIU, and it really opens things up early for the Panthers. I mean, the fact that Jacob is able to get open the way that he is, he's 15th in the conference at 3 points made. He's able to get off to a hot start and kind of get that shooting touch field early.
FIU wants to go at a torrid pace. Aiko Adams fires back with a deep one.
Back-to-back triples from the ones with the threes on the jersey. Jacob and Adams back and forth. That's any indication of how this game is going to go. That's going to be a lot of fun.
Could be pretty fun. And Osasu Osaghae abuses the rim.
He's such a rim protector. But the fact that he can bounce off and be as athletic as he is at that 6'9 frame, it's really a tool for Coach Jeremy Ballard and company. They are going to utilize him all night long.
Drew Peterson, number 23, the most improved player on this roster for the Rice Owls. He gives it up to Mullins. Mullins going baseline on Osaghae. Slips it into Parrish, but before his shot, a foul call on FIU. Nigo is the man inside.
Osasu Osaghae, and it didn't take a whole lot for him to just kind of sneak away. It was already a mismatch. 6'3 Aiko Adams, and then all of a sudden 6'9 Osaghae just turns around. He's got nothing but floor between him and the rim. Easy finish. No surprise there.
Antonio Day Jr. leading the league in assists with 144. Nice job to get Osaghae up in the air by Murphy, but he can't kiss it home.
That's one of the things about Trey Murphy III is that you want to make him put it on the floor. You want to make him be physical when it comes to driving. You don't want him shooting those outside looks. That time, Rice saw their outside shooter drive in, even showed a little bit of that head fake and just couldn't get the nice little lay-in to fall.
FIU loves to go at a fast pace, like we were saying a moment ago. But the main way they do it, Kyle, is by speeding you up with full-court defense. It's their defense that leads to their offense and leads to their fast pace. They want you to shoot before you want to.
It's one of those all-time adages when it comes to the game of basketball. Good defense leads to good offense, and FIU has led that factor really throughout the conference play.
Peterson off balance, so he steps back and drains the three.
Peterson's one of the best kept secrets in Conference USA. Sophomore out of Illinois, first player in Rice history with 300 points, 200 rebounds, and 100 assists in a season. He's somebody that can do it all for the Owls, and he did it there, stepping back, keeping his wits, and then knocking down a big shot.
Peterson not only leads the team in rebounds, but also in assists. Adams with an open triple, and all of a sudden, the script has flipped. Rice in front by 4.
So you're telling me, John, that the first 3 buckets for Rice today were all from downtown, and it's the top shooting team in terms of field goals made from beyond the arc this season?
I can't get anything past you. Try as I might. Try as I might. Yeah, 10 threes a game for Rice to lead the league. And they're top 5 in the nation when it comes to making threes and shooting threes as well. Peterson with the rebound off the Osaghae miss. And Peterson trying to get something started early, but leaves it behind Parrish.
A little miscommunication there as it looked like Peterson was trying to talk to Parrish and lead him a different direction, and the pass just goes a little bit wide.
Day misses on the run. Now here's Trey Murphy. We featured him right off the top. The 6'8" sophomore, still growing. He's only 19 years old coming into this season. Still learning his body, sizing up Osaghae, but coming up empty.
That's one of the things about Trey Murphy III that's so scary, is that he is so young. Out of Durham, North Carolina, somebody that's going to be a factor and a problem for the conference for years to come.
Osaghae going with the hook, but right there to tip it in, Devon Andrews.
Andrews, second team all-conference honoree. We mentioned him in the open, and he's got one of the highest motors that you'll see throughout this tournament. There he is right there. Look at the contact, and he ends up getting called for the foul there, but just showing that he's not afraid to be a little bit physical, even in the backcourt.
These two teams both hitting big shots. Rice with 3 threes so far. Last night, FIU, on the other hand, not playing very well here at the end of the season.
No, not at all. They've lost 5 of their last 6 regular season matchups after making the cut for Pod 1, and then you turn around, but you look at, even with those 5 losses, 4 of the 5 have come within single digits, and 3 have been within 2 possessions. So it's not like they're getting blown out and playing terrible basketball. They just fell on the short end of a lot of close games down the stretch. Now, they did get blown out by the top-seeded North Texas Mean Green, but other than that, this is an FIU squad that has a lot of confidence going into the tournament.
Robert Martin coming in off the bench, and he's a quick starter, averages 12 points a game, and make that 4 threes so far for Rice. A response? No, by Eric Lovett, but an offensive board, and Robert Martin steals it away. Robert Martin Jr., a 6'6" senior out of Pittsburgh. Why not? Rims in and out.
This is a Rice team that is a much different program when Robert Martin is in the lineup and he is healthy. The senior out of Pittsburgh, just a difference maker and a physical scoring wing that is so smart with the way that he handles the basketball. Somebody that you can almost always rely on to bring up the big shot.
Yeah, he missed 5 games with a heel injury right at the tail end of that bad 1-8 start in conference play for Rice. But once he got back in the lineup, Rice has just been a different team as Peterson takes it to the cup.
And I love the confidence there from Drew Peterson, though. He saw just a tad bit of a window on a defender he thought he had a mismatch with. And, of course, with his tall 6'8" frame, he's got some speed to go along with it. Long legs tend to help out with that as well, and he does it easy up off the right side. Damon
Kerrigan misfiring. He's the backup big in place of Osasu Osaghae in here early at the first media timeout. Peterson looking mid-range this time. It crawls off for him. So you brought up FIU. Didn't play well at the end of the season, losing 5 of their last 6, but they did go to pod number 1. What's better, to be, I don't know, maybe the top of pod 2 and have a little bit more confidence heading in, or to be at the bottom of pod 1 and the 5 seed and the only team out of that top pod that didn't get a first-round bye in the tournament?
That's the age-old debate of college basketball. It's even the same thing with byes and no byes in a tournament like this where you play back-to-back-to-back days. And, of course, FIU losing 5 of their last 6, but now you can say they're battle-tested. They've played the top teams. They aren't scared of anybody whenever it comes to playing here in the tournament and trying to make a run. Now, it's not going to help you in terms of RPI. You look at that, it's definitely worse. But at the same time, you've still got a lot of things going your way just in the fact that you've played some of the best competition around.
Backup point guard Cameron Corcoran giving around the outside, ends up in a 3 for Eric Lovett.
Lovett, a guy who likes to take the three-point shot. That was his 170th attempt from downtown. Say, how about quite a bit of a chunk of his shots coming from three-point land off the bench.
And the corner is his spot. Peterson from the wing. And Devon Andrews comes out with the rebound. So FIU coming in, maybe confidence waning just a little bit, and especially something to prove against Rice, a team that they lost to on the road during the regular season. Rice, we'll tell you about that first matchup between those two programs when we come back. The Rice Owls by 4.
This field has no markers, no
plan, and then we will evaluate moving forward. And of course, Conference USA will put out any further updates once they make that evaluation. I'm John Littleback with Kyle Yeomans. Rice leading 14-10 as Antonio Day starts his drive, and he's cut off and fouled. Much like the first time these two teams met, Rice got the better of FIU 92-78 on a really good shooting night.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And of course, you look at FIU, what's their strength? It's shot blocking. They're the top team in the nation in terms of 201 total blocks and 6.5 blocks per game this season. Rice, their strength is on the outside, shooting the basketball. They're not necessarily scared of going down low and seeing Osasu Osaghae like he just ended up doing in the middle of the paint, but at the same time, Rice is a team that likes to shoot from the outside. Those shot blocking kind of mentality and shot blocking identity of FIU doesn't scare these Owls. They outscored them 42-30 in that first half en route to a 14-point win. It was an impressive night for the Owls.
Osaghae can guard 1 through 5. He doesn't mind switching on to a guard. Of course, Rice, all they put out there a lot of the time is guards. As Parrish, the former TCU Horned Frog, scoops to the hoop.
Gotta love what Parrish brings to the table. Redshirt junior with a lot of experience, and then you have that on the other side as well.
Eric Lovett splashing right back with his second 3 of the matchup. It is an up and down pace, an entertaining start to this first round matchup between Rice and FIU. Let's send it over to Taylor Verico.
Thanks, John. Coach Ballard over here telling his team offensively, hey, let's make the simple play. Don't make it hard on yourself and take the contested 3. Let's go ahead and go for the layup. On defense, he says, do not help off the ball. That's exactly what Rice wants you to do. He says, no more threes, John.
Yeah, thank you very much, Taylor. And it kind of goes the other way of what I was talking about in terms of these strengths not lining up between the two squads. FIU's not necessarily afraid of attacking inside because Rice's strength comes on the perimeter.
And Josh Parrish comes up, or rather that's Ako Adams, comes up limping a little bit, and hopefully the senior will be okay. He is a key cog, 79 threes on the season, trying to walk off something leg related.
You want him fully healthy. Of course, Rice in need of a tournament run. You can't rely on the postseason to come if you're the Rice Owls. If you don't win the whole thing, you need every piece that you've got ready to go for the puzzle going forward.
Mullins, nice job off the ball fake to hit one.
He's an aggressive driver, so as soon as he picks up the basketball, puts his head down, FIU defensively has to back up. He saw that and pulled up in the middle of the mid-range.
Freshman Quincy Oliveri loses it out to Mullins. The extra pass to Parrish, who's about the only guy on this Rice team, it seems like, who's not willing to pull the trigger from outside. Number one, it's not a guy you really have to cover on the edge.
He's done it once this year, 0 for 1 from downtown.
Notable. Mullins almost banks one home, and Antonio Day starts the break.
Now, do you think that one shot was a half-court buzzer beater leading into halftime, or a desperation heave?
I think it was, probably an in-rhythm spot. Oliveri comes up with the steal, and Rice looking for numbers. Just fine with taking transition threes. They shot 35 threes the first time the two teams got together, made 14 of them. Martin misfires. Rice by 3. You see the three-point numbers. Both of these teams hoisting it with reckless abandon early on. A lot of contact there, but no call. Nice job by Day Jr. to save it. It ends up in a 2 for Osaghae.
Nice job by Antonio Day Jr. of sticking with that basketball. He was chest first into the floor, had to reach up with the right arm and tip it back to a teammate. But as soon as he did so, FIU had numbers and took advantage.
Ako Adams, four-year player here at Rice, way off on that offering. And here's Day Jr. looking to distribute, leaves it in the legs, but look what I found, Day Jr. for 2.
He's been in the right place in the right time last couple times. Of course, the leader in the conference in terms of assists per game, and he's second in steals. This is a guy who's the ultimate team player for FIU, and he brings a lot to the table. One of the best in drawing fouls at the same time.
Mullins off the mark, and all of a sudden, Rice has gone cold. And that's what what happens with three-point shooting teams sometimes is Lovett misses in kind.
You hear it so many times. You live by the three, you die by the three. If it's going down, then you have a great chance to win some ball games, but if not, you're in trouble.
Great job by Antonio Day Jr. to take the charge. And FIU, after an early deficit, has come back to turn it around and lead by 1. Time here at the Conference USA Championships, brought to you by Air Force Reserve. And I think these teams are just fine, very, very comfortable with playing this up and down pace. It's fun for them.
Oh, it's fun for everybody. Anytime you get to look at two teams shooting the ball pretty well. Now, of course, they've each cooled off since our torrid start that we had right at the beginning, especially Rice, who's had a scoreless drought of almost 2.5 minutes. But at the same time, whenever you get that back and forth action, it gets the crowd into it, gets the broadcasters into it. I know we all enjoy it. It's a fun way to play a basketball game.
Absolutely. Peyton Moore is in for the first time. 6'4" sophomore out of LA. Feeds it off to Murphy III. And now Mullins driving and dishing. Nice exchange. Mullins trying to get his team back on the board. Doesn't happen, but Peterson follows with a shot.
That's such a heady play from Peterson, knowing on the backside, as you see the frustration there from Andrews. The fact that he's on the backside of that defense, he'll come flying in off and to the left. There you see him just to the right of the screen. He's in the right spot, nobody to block him out, and then knowing that he's got not one but 3 defenders right behind him, knowing what that pump fake would bring some contact, that was a great bucket.
Yeah, Isaiah Banks was in the area, blocking out a Rice Owl. But Drew Peterson sneaks in for the and one, and Rice regains the lead. The Owls winning 6 of their last 9, officially finishing 12th, the last place that qualifies for the tournament. They were in pod number 3 as a three-pointer out of the corner goes down for Cameron Corcoran.
The fact that FIU has been able to match Rice three-point shooting step for step here in this first half has got to be really encouraging for Jeremy Ballard and company, because if you're matching step for step the main strength of your opponent, you're going to have some surpluses elsewhere that are going to help you out.
A lot of respect for Trey Murphy III, so he gives it to Peterson, who has 8 points so far. Moore is blocked on the edge. Kept alive by Murphy, but a shot clock violation.
Shot blocking team, we talked about it earlier, leads the nation as a program. Now 3 blocks already here in the ball game. The first one that time for Furcron, but we're going to see plenty of those blocks. Not a ton of them ever exactly the highlight reel type of rejections, but at the same time, you have just a finger on a basketball, it can affect the projection of a shot.
Of those 6.5 blocks a game, most of them by Osaghae, who gets nearly 4 a contest. Reverse pivot by Banks goes awry, but Peterson was out of bounds. The 2020 Conference USA Baseball Championship is returning to Biloxi, Mississippi this year, May 20th through the 24th. Live coverage will be available right here on ESPN+. Visit conferenceusa.com for more information on the CUSA baseball tournament.
It's been a rough start for Rice baseball this season, 2-14, but that's a program that has had so much success throughout the course of its history. 2003 national champions. They've got some talent there. Trey Cruz, most notably that shortstop. He's going to be an impact when conference play comes around. So don't give up on Rice baseball just yet.
Peterson picked up by Osaghae, who changes the shot. And then Jacob creates the board for the Panthers. The thing about Osaghae, he doesn't just adjust shots right at the hole. He can step out on you. Makes you go over that 7-foot wingspan. Osaghae with a deep hook.
They can do that as well. He likes to post up, but every time he does that, you have to be wary of that right-handed hook shot. That's his go-to. It's almost like clockwork for him underneath. Once he gets physical. Oh.
Speaking of physical, my goodness, Rice lucky to recover.
Well, there's a highlight reel block. I said his blocks earlier weren't highlight reel. He proves me wrong.
See if he gets another one. Now instead it's Murphy. Open out of the corner. Can't hit it. And Osaghae pulls down the board. Osaghae, the first time the two teams got together, 18 points, 7 of 8 from the floor. Incredibly efficient, 8 rebounds. Only 1 block, though. Long by Corcoran. And the tennis match continues here in Frisco. Nice open look by Peyton Moore, who fills it up. Moore only 27% from deep this season, but Scott Para lets everybody shoot threes. Everybody's got the green light.
First score for Rice in the past 2.5 minutes. Has another drought there for the Owls, but the defense has held their own, keeps them within striking distance to allow that bucket to tie things back up.
I mean, Rice is the type of team, three-point shooting, and this zone defense, they could truly beat anybody if they are on a given night. And Rice trying to get out in transition and look for another early three.
FIU showing that man-to-man look at the moment. Switch from a zone earlier once Drew Peterson was beating that zone with a drive, and you saw a couple other open shots because of it. FIU switched back to that man-to-man. That's what they've been at here throughout the majority of the last 5 minutes.
Only 2 to shoot. Moore again. Now this time it's in and out.
I just think FIU is much more comfortable in that man-to-man against Rice overall.
It's going to be a blocking foul on Peyton Moore. That sends us to a timeout. The big man, Osasu Osaghae, loves going to the right-handed hook. And he also loves sending it back as often as anybody in the nation.
Ballard took over the program his junior year, saw something in him, and actually put him on scholarship. Now he's the leading shot blocker in the nation and absolutely dominating. Funny how things happen when someone doubts you, right, guys?
Absolutely, and you saw right there, Rice doesn't have anybody that can guard him in the half court either, Kyle.
No, not at all. That right hook, it's almost automatic. The fact that he's able to get so much separation and use so much length, he's got such a high release point off of that shot as well. There's no way you can really contest it. And the fact that he's got that down so quickly in such a short amount of time, only playing for the 4 years that he has, it's really remarkable. 2
ties, 5 lead changes so far. The foul by Trajan Jacob of FIU means there are 4 fouls aside. Still 2:42 left in the first half. Neither team may get to the bonus here in a quickly moving first half. Rice has been quick to try the threes. FIU trying a lot of triples and then getting a lot out of Osaghae as well. Mullins doesn't pull the trigger right in front of the big man.
That's a great look of exactly how much he affects offense.
Somehow Robert Martin able to wait out Osaghae and hit the shot.
You have to just throw on the brakes and hope that he's not going to go over the top of you, because he's also so disciplined. He doesn't foul a whole lot underneath.
Again, Osasu Osaghae. That is a dozen points for Osaghae. And FIU retakes the lead.
Man, just look at what he's able to do.
Yeah. They switch everything. They don't care who he guards. They feel like he can be effective whomever he's going up against.
And that's one of the reasons why he's Conference USA Defensive Player of the Year, is because he doesn't just guard the post. He goes up top. Even right now, look at him on the perimeter, right up on top of Robert Martin, one of the best guards in the conference, and he's the one tabbed with defending him.
Just trying to find an open three, it seems like, for Rice today. Peterson driving, and no shot blocker there. He lays it in.
Oh, Peterson was wanting to stretch that out and find it with the flush. He was waiting for the dunk, but instead, good defense closing out for FIU, but an adjustment in midair is just too much, and Peterson with a nice little finger roll.
2 well-matched teams in the 5-12 matchup. It shows just how close these games can be. Running right-hander by Eric Lovett. Most of Lovett's shots come from outside, but he's able to make one go. Approaching a minute left in the first half, and Scott Parrott chooses to go ahead and use his timeout that he would have lost at the break anyway. Scott Para, the third-year head coach of the Rice Owls. Right here on the guys' side, it's been a great start, too.
Well, I think that 8-9 matchup is so intriguing because those are two teams that were fighting for buys last season, and then Old Dominion's the defending tournament champion. Of course, they've had a little bit of a down year. The winner of that game takes on the top-seeded Mean Green of North Texas tomorrow afternoon. So there's a lot at stake in that 8-9 game between two teams I think you could really tab as sleepers in this tournament.
Osaghae affecting a shot. Corcoran cranks one. Bottoms for Corcoran.
Straight away dagger from way downtown. Such a quick release with that point guard that moves so well. Kind of reminds me, and maybe it's because of the 55, but it kind of reminds me of the former Baylor and Dallas point guard Pierre Jackson. It's kind of the way that he kind of rolls off of a screen and then is able to take that quick trigger. Got a very pretty shot. I mean, as good of a looking shot as you could really ask for. And he was able to drain that last shot.
Good foul that Rice had to give. Let's take a look at Cameron Corcoran.
Just look how quick his release is here. Gets it, takes one jump, and all of a sudden that thing's in the back of the net. It was almost in the back of the net, or bottom of the net rather, by the time he hit the ground. He's got a straight line shot too, not a ton of arc to his three-point look. So it's kind of an uncharacteristic look, but it's something that's definitely effective.
Rice has one more foul to give, not giving it. Instead, it's Day to the cup. Peterson launches from beyond midcourt, and that will take us to the half. And all of a sudden, FIU women's, and our on-court reporter is Taylor Verico. So great to have you with us tonight. So Kyle, keys to the second half for Rice. It sounds like Scott Para's just like, keep the pedal to the metal, keep on shooting it, hope it goes in. Is it deeper than that, though, for Rice?
I think it has to be, especially with the physicality you've seen from Osasu or Osaghae.
Devon Andrews with the swipe and the take to the bucket. And one thing that Scott Para said before the game, no live ball turnovers. And one of the first live ball turnovers of the game results in an easy two.
That's kind of the thing that Rice had going in their favor in the first half, is that they took care of the basketball. And the fact that you start the second half with the turnover as a foul is called underneath on Day Jr., but you see only just a couple fouls for Rice overall. Other than that, the stats have been pretty even. You see the shooting percentage up at the top of the screen, but then you talked about how it could be deeper. How about that? Points in the paint, 20 compared to just 10 for FIU, the majority of those coming from Osaghae.
How about 13 assists by FIU as well? Some great sharing. Peterson looks to get his team back in it after 10 straight points by FIU spanning the quarters. Finally, Peterson with the three, but right back in the eye, Trajan Jacob over Aiko Adams.
One of those where you just turn around and you say, well, what else can we do? We tried to get back, but they beat us to the point.
Looks like FIU is doing more to try to dictate how this game goes with their defense, getting out in passing lanes to start the second half. Their aggressiveness has really ramped up.
Well, and you mentioned it earlier, this is an FIU team that likes to run a little bit. They like to dictate the pace of the game. And Rice is a team that likes to do the same thing. They like to play with a little bit of intensity, with a little bit of up-tempo. FIU said, hey, let's beat you at your own game. Coming out of the break, you see that up-tempo, you see the high motor, and that's just good coaching on Jeremy Ballard. I believe he's one of the smartest coaches that you'll see at this level in terms of just Division I collegiate basketball. A young coach, a young star in his second year. You talked about how he was a prodigy up underneath Shaka Smart during those Final Four and big-time runs for VCU before Shaka Smart took the job at Texas. He's got a lot of coaching tendencies that are going to get him further and further along with this FIU program.
Rhythm three by Aiko Adams, his first since early in the game. He has 9 points.
Well, if Rice is going to get back in this game, you got to have some of those shots fall. Finally able to do that. 2 quick threes here in this second half to get things underway after they had kind of gone dry a little bit.
Osaghae catches deep, dumps it off, reversal, doesn't go. Good opportunity for Trajan Jacob, but he could not convert. Meanwhile, Rice has 7 threes. They made 14 on 40% shooting from deep the first time the two teams matched up. Peterson bashes into Osaghae. Call for the travel.
I think one of the big things about Rice, you can't have hero ball when it comes to a high-volume shooting team. You got to have a little bit of misdirection. This time you'll see the drive and then the dish back outside, wide open look. You can't necessarily just work around the perimeter. You've got to find a way to draw in a defense, and especially after you have a couple of those drives go your way, FIU has to respect it. Opens up the outside.
Dave floats one in off the glass. He has 6. FIU by 8 points. And you saw on that play as Josh Parrish drove inside. He was the bait. And Osasu Osaghae went to him, meaning he couldn't cover anybody else on the play.
ISO threes aren't going to win you games if you're Rice. You've got to have it off of assists.
And Mullins knows he can't do it over Osaghae, so Peterson now trying to operate the offense. Peterson inside. He has the bucket.
I think Peterson driving inside didn't expect that to be was so wide open. He lost his man as Banks just kind of got lost in the shuffle, and then Peterson looked up and there was nothing but air between him and the rim.
Live ball turnover for Rice. Ako Adams trying to further claw the Owls back into it. True positionless basketball for the Rice Owls. Mullins slips it. Trey Murphy finishes.
Nice job by Mullins driving inside. He had the same problem that Peterson had. He didn't realize how wide open things were underneath, but then he looked up and saw Osaghae lurking, waiting for a block, and realized Trey Murphy III was right on the backside of Osaghae, and the big man just couldn't adjust in time. Back to a 4-point game.
Meanwhile, first points for Murphy. Day Jr. on the drive and held inside the lane. Give it to Chris Mullins, his first foul of the game.
You mentioned it being the first points for Trey Murphy III, somebody that averages almost 14 points per game, a starter for the majority of the season, barely comes off the floor. He only has that one basket, missed his first 4 shots, including 3 from beyond the arc. The fact that Rice is only down by 4 and he has 1 bucket might be a little encouraging for the final 16 and a half minutes of this one.
Devon Andrews has Peterson up in the air, steps right through and scores. Devon Andrews, a natural-born scorer.
Natural-born scorer is right. Playmaker, the intensity. He has that hesitation on the drive. We talked about baiting defenders for Rice. Well, he does that just with the head fake and showing exactly where the top of his body's going. But then he turns the other direction, throws on the brakes, and it's a 180, and the defense can't catch up.
Peterson, who has 15, feeds it off to Mullins. Adams, who has 3 triples, only 5 to shoot. Skip pass, step back, Mullins can't buy it. And a leak out for Trajan Jacob, who attacks 1 on 3, can't hit. Good aggressive move that just would not fall over the front of that rim.
They called a flop warning that time on Rice, as I believe it was Ako Adams trying to draw the foul, hit the ground a little bit early before the contact was made. A great no call from this officiating crew, and then turning around and saying, hey, let's not do that again or else it will be a foul.
It will be a technical is what it'll be, as Mullins hits the leader. That's something they're really emphasizing this year. We've seen that. And this one goes out of bounds off of Rice. The Owls stand perplexed. But after the Panthers were throwing punches here early in the second half, the Owls have come back to make it a 4-point. You've got to make that extra effort to try to create separation.
I don't think it was necessarily just patty cake through the first half or anything of that sort, but the physicality has had an uptick here in the second half. Now, both teams just like to shoot the basketball. They like to have that spacing, but you see that extra intensity. You see it ramped up a little bit, and with it just being a 4-point game, reality's going to start setting in right around that 10-minute mark. It's win or go home. You got to figure out a way to get this done, even if you're the 5 seed or the 12.
Banks can't hit the lob, but Damon Kerrigan is right there to lay it back in. FIU back up by 6 points. FIU lost the only game between the two teams in the regular season. That was played at Tudor Fieldhouse in Houston, a 92-78 win for Rice, thanks to 14 threes in that game. Peterson crossing over, left it behind him, and finds Mullins. Only 6 to shoot again. Here's Murphy. Oh, a nice spin move and the finish past Damon Kerrigan.
Now he's starting to find his rhythm. Talked about his 6 20-plus point games this season. The last one he had was March 1st. He had 16 points. in that loss to UTEP on Saturday. So he's definitely the scorer. He's the one to go to here in the final 13 minutes, 14 minutes or so in this ball game. He's starting to find that rhythm. That's a little scary for FIU.
Corcoran goes inside. Kerrigan did not know that Robert Martin was on the backside to strip that one away. Oh, Martin wanted that trailing three, too.
FIU does just such a nice job rotating defensively, sticking with that man-to-man. Of course, we saw the zone a little bit earlier.
Here's Peterson in rhythm, but it crawls off. Love it with the board. The Owls' looks have been much better tonight when they've been in rhythm, off a pass.
That catch and shoot mentality for Rice, that's where they've been successful, not necessarily off of those ISO looks. We mentioned it earlier. You're going to have to pass the basketball. Having those assists so low in the first half was crucial.
Berkrun sets up Corcoran, but it doesn't go. Now here comes Mullins the other way. Some numbers. He's rates going up, and foul shots coming for Rice. FIU going to the lob out of the timeout.
Man, the lob right up there, just out of reach for Isaiah Banks, but luckily you're able to get the putback there from Kerrigan. And then on the other end, there's the rhythm from Trey Murphy III, one of the top scorers in the conference, 13th in points per game. And he starts to find that little stutter step. If he can go back into that stutter step and utilize that spin move to create some separation and have a point-blank look on a night like tonight where his shooting isn't there, that's what he's going to have to get his points.
Not a lot of free throws for either team in tonight's game. There just haven't been opportunities. In fact, this is the first two-shot foul for either team.
That's crazy.
Wow, look at that. FIU hasn't even shot one. Rice now 2 for 2.
Now, of course, with the fouls toward the end of the game, that total is going to go up. But we talked about the lack of physicality in the first half. Even here in the second half, just 3 total fouls. It's crazy to think about.
In today's day and age of college basketball, you're used to seeing a good amount of fouls before you hit the 10-minute mark.
Rice making it a 2-point game. They had the lead for the first half of the first half. Antonio Day Jr., leading assist guy in the conference. Sends it out top to Corcoran. Around an Osaghae screen as the big man's back in. Corcoran staying on the dribble, throws it away to Peterson. And FIU starting to give it away with more regularity. No look feed, Murphy for the slam and the tie.
I love the game of Drew Peterson. He has such a vision for the offensive end of the floor. He plays both sides well, but especially on the offensive side, he just finds a way to dish the basketball to a wide open scorer. Drives in, looks to his left, and all of a sudden Trey Murphy III, sneaky back behind that defense, wide open for the slam.
Just gorgeous. Day Jr. floats it in with the left hand.
And we've got 11 minutes and 50 seconds left of this. Back and forth. This has been fun.
Things are really heating up. The playmaking is going up. The competitive nature of this game is finally coming to fruition. Both these teams needing this game to continue their season. Here's Martin against Osaghae. Another slam for Trey Murphy.
You can't leave that man open. I know he's a shooter. He makes his keep from beyond the arc, but you can't let him open on the baseline.
Oh, Eric Lovett there to stop the streak.
Rice making 4 of their last 5 from the field, and yet they still find themselves down by 3. That's how this game's gone.
Lots of scoring in this one. Peterson calmly against Osaghae, quickly puts it up, but in and out, couldn't keep it alive. Here comes Day Jr., always wants to push the pace. Euro step inside, finish. Oh, what a finish by Antonio Day Jr.
That might have been the most athletic bucket of the night. Falling over almost horizontal with the hardwood, and he laid it up on that Euro step, and there's a block on the other end.
Yeah, frustrated Murphy trying to go right into the breadbasket of Osasu Osaghae. He won't do that again. Peterson hooked and fouled, trying to come around the corner. But Drew Peterson has been key in this Rice Owls comeback. This beautiful no-look feed tied it up. Since then, FIU has gone up by 5.
Number 4, Eric Lovett
Indian, the defending Conference USA tournament champions, they've got to climb a big mountain against FAU if they want to stay alive. How about that?
Couple powerful felines battling some owls across the curtain from each other. Now, I know Old Dominion's the Monarchs, but their logo is a lion.
That's
compared
good
to the
point.
Panthers for FIU.
That's not a stretch at all.
No, right?
Peterson short on his 3, and the Panthers trying to get back in this thing. Day is the engine. Can't make it go, but Day going to the line. Taylor Verico on the sideline.
Thanks, John. Coach Ballard preaching in that last huddle. It's all about defense, all about transition defense. He said, Rice is only scoring by the lack of our discipline. He said, let's make them execute, make them work, because right now we aren't doing that. John?
Taylor, thank you so much. Yeah, as much as Jeremy Ballard thinks about his offense, he's about trying to get tips, trying to get blocks, trying to work hard on defense as Day goes 1 of 2 at the line. The first free throws tossed in this game by the Panthers, who lead it by 6.
You know, and I like what he's having to say in terms of the discipline defensively. Both of these teams were very disciplined whenever it came to that first half, and we saw the defense and the field goal percentages were so low, but really once these offenses started finding some rhythm, the defense had to lackadaisical a little bit and back off.
Jacob and 1. Panthers so good off live ball turnovers, and FIU takes an 8-point lead.
With a full head of steam, it doesn't matter when there's 3 jerseys right around him. Just takes it all the way to the cup with no hesitation.
Love what Trajan Jacob brings to the table. Looks to run in transition, can pull up from deep. Sometimes you'll see him pull up in the middle of the key, in the middle of transition instead of taking it all the way to the hoop, but he knows exactly the scouting report against this Rice Owls team, and instead he takes it all the way.
Real tone setter on both sides for FIU is Trajan Jacob, and he showed it on that defensive play. Can't convert the 3-point play, though. Still, FIU up by 8, one of their larger leads, as Peterson tries to go to the cup. A hard foul, and there's a technical coming here as Day and Peterson came together, and in order to keep it from getting worse, Peterson gets teed up. Let's look at this.
There may not be a ton of fouls in this game, but the physicality and the competitiveness is still there. You see the contact, pretty tough overall, and there is some words pretty quick right up after that contact was made. And of course, we got a great look at it from that baseline camera. Another magnificent look from crew and company here, but you can't do that if you're Peterson. You're just a sophomore. You play such a smart game, but you got to be heady when it comes to that. They're going to say it was a foul on Antonio Day Jr. And then a turnaround. They'll call the technical.
Class A technical, resulting in 2 foul shots for Trajan Jacob. And then there's also a foul, like you said, on Antonio Day Jr. You know, FIU's not a great free throw shooting team. 65%. That's a pretty poor free throw percentage as a team. But those are 2 big ones for Antonio Day Jr. Now Peterson tries to earn them back at the other end.
And a chance for the tick and the tack here. FIU growing that lead a little bit. It's been a quiet growth of the lead ever since we were tied up, but it's a quick little 10-0 run over the past 2 minutes. Stoppage in play, free throws now playing a factor. You got to knock these down if you're Peterson. Try and stop the run.
Indispensable part of this Rice team, leading the team in minutes, rebounds, assists, and today in scoring with 16. Still, it's FIU up by 9. Jeremy Ballard's Panthers looking to secure a trip to the second round against Charlotte. Osaghae hooking around defenders and fouled heading through the lane. Osaghae going to the line. The 2020 Conference USA Softball Championships will take place May 6th through 9th in Bowling Green, Kentucky. Hosted by WKU. Live coverage right here on ESPN+. Visit conferenceusa.com for more information. So the foul on the floor. No foul shots for Osaghae. As Andrews goes to work. Devon Andrews has it poked away by Peterson. Oliveri on the run. And FIU back in transition. Andrews couldn't come up with a swipe. Martin trying to decide what to do with it in this positionless offense for Rice. Murphy hasn't had much space in the second half to shoot threes. Now Peterson over. Oh, and it's good. Drew Peterson knocks down the three over Osasu Osaghae.
I love the adjustment there from Rice as FIU started that defensive possession in zone. Switched it over to man. Rice realized that and found Peterson open with a little bit of a mismatch up at the top of the key.
There is no stopping Osasu Osaghae.
He's on a different level. He really is.
14 points in this one. He is. Especially against a team like Rice, who's basically starting 5 guards.
Absolutely.
Who do you put on it? There's nobody to put on it. You sacrifice that end for this end. Nice lift inside Oliveri to the line. Drew Peterson staring down the best shot blocker in the entire regular season champion North Texas. Coming up a little bit later on court A, it's UAB and UTSA, and we'll have Marshall and UTEP here on court B. And the Conference USA bracket presented by Air Force Reserve.
I think that speaks to the parity of Conference USA overall. The fact that last year's champion, the #1 team last year representing Conference USA in the NCAA tournament, Old Dominion, they turn around, they get an 8 seed, but they're out in the first round.
Life comes at you fast.
Beaten by the 9 seed 1 year after they made their magical run here in Frisco and found their automatic bid to the NCAA tournament. So there's so many good teams. It's going to be tough for North Texas against that FAU squad. I know North Texas has beaten them twice already, but that's a tough task for Grant McCaslin and company.
Trajan Jacobs coming alive in this second half. That fall away 3 gives him 11. And the Panthers stretching it back out to a 9-point advantage.
And if you're Rice, you got to have Jacob put the ball on the floor. He likes to use that jab fake into that 3-point shot.
Nice backdoor cut. Murphy finishes it up, but Peterson just keeps dishing off dimes.
You know that's got to be frustrating for Coach Ballard for FIU, seeing Trey Murphy flush it home. That's a shooter who keeps finding his way open back behind the defense.
Here's a foul. And a look at this backdoor pass. Another beauty by Drew Peterson.
It's just crazy to see off into the left. You see the eyes and the vision looking for Trey Murphy the entire time. It was kind of telegraphed.
Yeah.
It wasn't like he was surprising anybody with a no-look pass, Peterson. But turns around, and that's all it was.
Oh, somehow it's not an over and back, and Scott Para gets teed up. Para has to take a walk to calm down.
And that is a turn of events here. Couldn't fire up that Rice Owls team, but it does put Jacob on the line with a couple shots here.
The face of the coach says it all. Trajan Jacob trying to extend that lead out. He didn't like it. He didn't like it at all.
No, not even a little bit. That's unfortunate for Rice, though. Those were 2 crucial points, and Jacob being such a good free throw shooter at 73%. It really is almost an automatic couple of points. Para just trying to plead his case. He did not believe that was an over, or he believed it was an over and back. Should have been Rice basketball, but the officials say elsewise.
Heart rate back down under 90 for Scott Para as Day glides to the glass.
It might be back up over 90 as the frustration sets in. That's a
Wide open look in the middle of the lane. You can't allow for so many steps and so many lack of bodies underneath for Rice. You got to have a body in the lane.
And a key 4-point possession as Peterson is fouled on the other end. He's intent to take over. Drew Peterson having one of his better games of the season, on the verge of superseding 20 points again. Let's take a look at the call in question. It's touch there. I don't see why it wouldn't be, but
there's really no reason why it wouldn't be over and back. That's just a bang-bang call. The officials saw it the way that they did. We've got the benefit of replay and slow motion to see it clearly. They don't have that. They have to look at it in real time. They thought it was tipped.
It's a great point.
And we get to look at it a little bit later on. I don't believe that's even
alive.
I don't even believe that's a reviewable call, is it? I don't know if you can review it over and back because play is still currently being taken care of, and then the technical foul was called.
Well, no, you can't review it in this situation. Meanwhile, Rice needs to turn attention to their defense. 7 for their last 7 are the Panthers. Makes it 8 of 9. Osaghae with a putback. And a timeout called by the Rice Owls. They are in desperate need of this game getting flipped in a better direction. Controversial moments that have resulted in a couple technical fouls. One on Drew Peterson for barking back at Antonio Day Jr. One on Scott Parra after what he believed should have been called an over and back violation. On FIU, Mullins driving on Jacob, bumped, fouled. That's 7 fouls on FIU and a 1-and-1 coming up for Rice for the remainder of this game, at least the 1-and-1.
Well, and as much as you want to complain, if you're a Rice Owls fan, about the call over and back or whether it was or not, there haven't been enough whistles in this game to dictate the outcome. It's still a 12-point lead. That's one possession at one point. If you're Rice, you got to put that behind you, turn around and convert on the defensive end of the floor. You got to get some stops. This is an FIU team that has dominated the paint so much. They have a 40-24 advantage in terms of the paint, and right now Osaghae is just absolutely a wall. He is so tough to get around.
Like you said, the 40-24 advantage in the paint. Another block shot for Osaghae. That is 5 in the game. As Ako Adams really needs this, and he drains it. All his points from outside. He has 12. Rice back within 9. They can get it together and make this a game down the stretch for sure.
Second Owls shooter that has multiple threes tonight along with Peterson. Maybe one of those two guys has to be the one to get things started.
Shot clock draining down, and Ako Adams does the honors.
Just a wide open look. Another drive and dish. That's been the success for Rice over the course of the game. 3 assists already for Peterson. Murphy's got 3 assists as well. We talked about how they only had 7 in that first half. Well, they've grown that to 16. And we've still got 5 minutes to play. Now, with this 5-minute mark approaching, Rice, that's a pretty significant turn of events. They're 14-2 when leading at the 5-minute mark in the second half, but 1-13 when they trail.
Well, Peterson goes inside on Osaghae. Feeds it to Mullins, trying to get physical. Down by 11 with under 5 minutes to go. Rice needs to start stringing buckets and stops. And their best shooter, Murphy, cannot buy a bucket from outside. All 10 of his points have come from inside the arc. And the Panthers, who have just been more efficient in the second half, thanks to Antonio Day Jr., who has 8 assists. See if they can continue to lean. Drive and dish. 3-pointer, no. Rebounds tipped out off of the Panthers. Conference USA is celebrating 25 years of excellence in athletics, academics, and community impact. And the conference is marking a quarter-century with the formation of Conference USA's Hall of Fame. To learn more about the inaugural class, visit conferenceusa.com. It's pretty cool to see all of those names going in this year. And there were so many names in the first 25 years of this league that they just had to, it's just a whole group on this first year, and there are plenty more to come.
So many cool names when it comes to talking about some of the greats in Conference USA history. I mean, even basketball-wise, you look at
Marshall, a team that we're going to see here in a couple moments here on Court B with Hassan Whiteside. I don't know if he's inducted into this group, but he's one that surely it's coming. A guy who has made such an impact at the NBA level and was a huge player for the Thundering Herd during his time in Huntington. So plenty of names and players still to be added to that illustrious group that finally we get to see a Conference USA Hall of Fame starting this year.
Trey Murphy III hobbling that one off. Meanwhile, Rice has missed a couple of front ends of 1-and-1s that could have helped them in this effort to crawl back in. But instead, Devon Andrews gets a 1-and-1 the other way, and he makes good on the front end of it. And Andrews only a 61% foul shooter.
Mentioned the struggles from the line for FIU this season. No such thing today, though. 9 of 11, only missed the 2. 1 in each half.
Peterson determined. There's an armbar foul. Osaghae finally whistled for his first foul of the game. That goes to what you mentioned earlier on, that somehow this big guy down low that everybody's trying to go after, he's always swatting shots, yet he never gets called for fouls.
That's because he's so far away. Yeah, he's 6'9", which isn't the tallest basketball player you'll see on the hardwood, but he's so athletic and he's so quick,
triggered when it comes to finding a way to block shots that he can back up a little bit and
take that extra space to not be called for the foul. And finally there is a whistle.
Peterson, meanwhile, knocks down 2 must-have free throws. Under 4 to play. The FIU Panthers leading it by 11. Looking for a date with Charlotte again, a team that they had to play in pod play as well. Osaghae trying to distribute. Corcoran feeds it to Osaghae. Hasn't gotten a lot of these opportunities. Poked away and stolen by Peyton Moore.
All right, you got the turnover. Now look for a high percentage look here for Rice. Don't force up a shot. You still got plenty of time. You showed earlier that you can score in a hurry.
Peterson playing the point forward spot, turning to the goal and fouled by Isaiah Banks. And more free throws coming up for Drew Peterson as he's eyeing a career high tonight. This is CUSA Championship Basketball. A team they were locked in that top pod with. And FIU had lost 5 of their last 6, but one of those, the win during that time was against Charlotte.
Yeah, and you talked about whether it was good or bad that you play those pod games
against the top competition in the Conference USA. And it's, of course, still an experimental
time in the pods. Of course, having the pod 1, pod 2, pod 3. Charlotte got inside the top 5 when that cutoff happened and then struggled from then on out. But even then, you've shown the confidence today against a pretty stout Rice team.
Day's had a great game. Can't get Andrews. Tips it twice. Nothing doing. It's a 9-point game and a giveaway. Robert Martin did not look at Chris Mullins before he passed him the ball.
Yeah, and you see the frustration for Scott Parra just putting the hands on his head, and you can, like you said earlier, John, the coach's face tells all, and he's seen some better days for his Rice Owls, and looks like we may have some more fouls called in the backcourt.
And it will extend field goal-ish streak for FIU here. They haven't had a field goal in the last 3 minutes. Rice in the last 2:45 had a lot of free throws after none early on. But clairvoyantly, you said, hey, just wait for the end of this game as Antonio Day Jr. misses on the front end. But Day has been a huge engine in this FIU lead with 15 points plus the 8 assists.
This would be a perfect possession for Rice if Day Jr. would have missed both free throws. Now he does hit the 1, but no time went off the clock before that foul was called, and then one of 2 of those guys, they'll be returning. Now Osasu Osaghae in his final season with FIU. We'll see what his post-collegiate basketball years have in store for him in terms of playing the game. And talked about earlier, Taylor mentioned it, saying that he started playing once he got to college. We'll see how his professional ranks may go.
10-point lead for FIU, 2.5 to play. It's do or die time as Mullins drives in. Goes to the line for 2 off the Devon Andrews foul.
He didn't have to do it this time, but one of Mullins' go-tos is utilizing the shot fake and drawing contact on the drive in the middle of the paint. He'll pull up with the shot fake, little head fake, and then he'll drive in very aggressively and draw the contact. This time he goes straight line, trying to get to the hoop, and if you foul me, you foul me. If you don't, I've got an open look, and the foul was called. 2 quick free throws.
Mullins, a player that really produced as a freshman, 12 points a game. Part of the CUSA all-freshman team. His numbers have taken a little step back here in his sophomore campaign. It's certainly a guy that has a bright future under Scott Parra, part of this young lineup. They do have a couple seniors in Aiko Adams and Robert Martin that play huge roles that will step away from the program after completing their eligibility. The closest Rice has been since the 6:51 mark. An 8-point game. And the Owls really have to have stops now. But Antonio Day Jr. has done a great job of keeping them off balance. Leaning into the lane. A 10-point lead again.
Kept them all off balance, and it seemed like he was just waiting for an opportunity to strike. Finally found a window.
Nice good look for Peterson. Can't buy it. Martin with the offensive rebound. May have been blocked by Osaghae again. Here's a leak out. A lob. Jacob just has to collect it. And that's as good as it done. The Panthers by a dozen.
Just the lob to get it over a defender. Not necessarily looking for that alley-oop.
Big 3 for Trey Murphy III to make it a 9-point game again with 1:34 to play.
And all of a sudden, you're cooking with gas.
Get that stop though. The trap doesn't work. Andrews across midcourt. How fast does the foul come? And there it is. Andrews not a great foul shooter at 61%. So Scott Parra says attack him. Just try to extend this game as long as you possibly can and keep a guy's career alive like Robert Martin.
And that's unfortunate for Martin, just having to battle through some of the injuries. One of an elusive company to make 100 career three-pointers in Rice program history. Such a versatile player. Rebounding, physical, able to post up, even has basically just a big guard. He's listed at forward, but he plays a lot of the guard role in this Rice offense. Like you mentioned earlier, it's kind of an uncharacteristic offense in terms of the look that they see, but seeing his career come to a close.
Yeah, you think about it, as Andrews misses both free throws, by the way. The door might be open and cracked for Rice here as Peterson looks to keep it away from the defense, but a live ball turnover. Here's Jacob. This time he's able to slam it, and that might put it on ice. Oliveri can't secure it. Murphy with the quick trigger. A little bit strong and off to the right. Devon Andrews pulls it down and gives it to his trusty sophomore point guard, Antonio Day Jr.
Take another look at what could be the dagger. Peterson with the ball up at the top of the key, just got it tipped away. A headsy play from Devin Andrews, tipped it out of the reach of Peterson, and a nice job by Jacob taking advantage of it and then flushing it home at the other end, having the presence of mind to get quickly up to the hoop. Didn't have a ton of time because Peterson was trailing on the defensive side, but he was able to put it down and, like you said, might have put it on ice and made this lead insurmountable.
How big has Antonio Day Jr. been in the second half as Andrews blocks the 3 of Adams? Free throws coming for Trajan Jacob. But Antonio Day Jr., what a game he's had. 20 points in the contest. 16 of them have come in this decisive second half. And he really has been. I've said it several times. He has been the engine. He has been the thing that's made it go in the second half for FIU.
Well, and you talk about the 20 points, but he did it so efficiently. 7 of 9 shooting, 6 of 8 from the free throw line. He's had just as many misses from the charity stripe as he's had in the field over the course of the game. Not to mention the 8 assists that he's put up. He's done a lot of this with 4 fouls, too, so even having to be careful, he's still playing defense. He's contributing in almost every category, and he's making those around him better, and that's what you can ask for.
Murphy has 5 times as many dunks in this game as he has 3-pointers. 6'1" with 20 points and 8 dimes as well, just 1 point shy of a career high. It's in control for FIU as Trajan Jacob is fouled. And so the date with Charlotte looms. The first time around against Charlotte, and FIU played at Charlotte twice this season, back on January 25th, an uncharacteristic 75-49 loss for FIU. So they lose by 26, Kyle, the first time around, and then they win it by 15 the next time around against the same team. So these two teams that know each other so well in that 4-5 slot, it's going to be a slugfest tomorrow in the quarterfinals.
And there's a lot at stake for FIU, too. Having the fight to keep their season alive, 1, but 2, with this win, it pushes them to 19. 1 more, you're at the 20-win plateau for the 4th time. In program history, they had 20 wins last year. In a 20-14 record, they could get back to that mark for the 2nd straight year.
Trey Murphy with the follow shot and the foul. Trey Murphy didn't have a point at halftime, but because of what he did inside the arc in the second half, he finally became a factor. Osasu Osaghae is whistled for the foul. Trey Murphy, this kid has still been growing. He's grown 2 inches since he got on campus in Houston. They discovered a growth plate was still open on your team. A 4-point lead. Now really tough for North Texas. Charlotte will not want to foul with 4 seconds left. A fake handoff. It crawls off for Jackson, and Charlotte survives. The Charlotte 49ers move on, breaking a 2-game losing streak with a 71-67 victory over North Texas. And the 6th seed Charlotte moves on to play the number 3 seed Western Kentucky.
Martin, yeah, just clipped him right in the eye. It looks like they're going to call a flagrant 1 on Martin Jr. here.
And you couldn't see it there, but Robert Martin was the first one to come up, help him up to his feet, or try to let him know it wasn't necessarily intentional. Here's a look at the sportsmanship of Martin. Tries to go over and check on a guy he's been doing battle with all night, and a guy that is going to eventually end Martin's career tonight.
That's the thing. There's so much respect between these 2 programs, between Coach Para, Coach Ballard, and then even just the 2 rosters. That's why the intensity and the competitiveness is there. It boils over sometimes because there's respect between these 2 sides. Rice got the better of FIU the first time around. The second time, FIU made the necessary adjustments, weathered the storm through a couple of these Rice runs, and then it looks like the Panthers are the ones to move on.
Rice was trying to take a foul. They tried to foul Osaghae twice. Finally, Jacob was the one that was fouled. So Jacob to the line. That basket does not count. What do you think was the biggest difference in this second half? Why was FIU able to take control and really keep Rice at bay and 8 points or greater for most of the second half?
I think they dictated the pace, John. I really do. The fact that they ran it so quickly in the first half with Rice. Rice is a team that likes to maybe even set up in the half court every now and again. Yeah, they want to run and they want to go for the 3 in transition, but FIU said, we're going to beat you at your own game. We're going to run quicker. We're going to get to the ball faster. We're going to cut into these passing lanes, and we're going to take high-volume shots. And not only did they take high-volume shots, but high-percentage looks as well. 53% field goal percentage over the course of the game. That's really impressive for FIU to have up over 50%, as you see Ako Adams embracing Scott Para, and a guy who was here for the transition between Para and the prior coaching staff, and Adams playing his last minutes in a Rice Owls uniform.
It's tough for guys like that. And every single team has guys like that on it. And that's what makes tournament time and March, it can be the most special time of the year. As Tim Harrison, a senior, gets on the scoreboard. Great to see that. It can make it a special time of year. It can make it a heartbreaking time of year. And tonight, it was heartbreak for the Rice Owls. But for FIU, it was revenge. And the 5 seed holds